Hello, welcome to another episode of the Crypto Star Wars Fans channel. I'm your host, Sean Lee. Today, I am very happy to be with my friend Amos to talk about the current state of the market, what project he's looking at, and also his own journey as a crypto native or crypto veteran, I should say. Amos and I actually met a number of years ago. And Amos has been giving me a lot of advice on what the crypto market looks like, and also some of the more intricate matters as it relates to the industries that we're maturing and also working on. I actually first time in person, right? Amos, a couple of weeks back, I
Yeah,
met you in Barcelona for the first time, even though we've been doing this thing for a
this
couple of years now.
this is why you're wearing the shirt.
This is why I'm wearing the Barcelona jersey. Of course it is. You noticed that. So, Amos, very glad to have you on the show. I've been wanting to have you here for quite some time. I know your schedule is quite busy. Maybe a quick intro about your background, how you got into the space, and what you're working on now at Node Capital.
Of course. So thank you for hosting me. I'm always very happy to talk. So my background is actually in trading. I used to be a trader for different investment firms. Then worked at eToro in the early days, managing the dealing and trading department there. And then I started colored coins
Mm-hmm.
together with pioneers in the space like Yoni Assia is the CEO of eToro, Vitalik Buterin who founded Ethereum, and then uh, a lot of others. Some of them are active in the space right now, and some of them are
Mm-hmm.
not. And I started different companies, protocols, set on board of different L1s, advised different L1s. So been involved in the space for a long time. Also very fascinated in general in CD coins and local coins, alternative currencies. This is also kind of like an angle that's very interesting to me. Now I started Node Capital together with my co-founder, who's originally kind of like a Bitcoin developer.
Mm-hmm.
And Node Capital was the idea was to start a fund where we have an edge on technical things related to crypto. So everyone who works in the fund are engineers, basically other than me. And we're trying to help the projects on the technical level. We have also a very big node operation, so we're node operator on a lot of different chains, protocols, etc. So that's kind of like a way to support and help those projects bootstrap in the early days and then grow. But yeah, I mean, my passion is for decentralization, really focusing on things that are truly decentralized, or we could see the roadmap for something to become really decentralized. If it's not, it will be usually very hard for us to invest.
You ever since I met you, you have always stressed what true decentralization means, and obviously decentralization carries many different fashions. But you've always reminded me that for blockchain and crypto and the whole industry to continue to mature in the right direction, decentralization really has to be part of the core of everything that builders and projects should be really focusing on. Is that when you invest in projects now, are you putting an extra emphasis on projects that really bring true to the notion of decentralization in one way or the another?
I mean, look, we're not a maximalist, right? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not one that's decentralization, to me at least, it's not a zero or one, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
process and
Yeah.
there are things in the middle. When we're looking at a project, we will usually kind of like think about how do you close the cycle of a transaction or something that happens on a blockchain or a network. Is it involved kind of like a third party that could lie? Like, for example, a lot of entrepreneurs thinking about, how do I bring blockchain or crypto into real world use cases. And
Hmm.
I was advocating that for a long time as well, right? Because
Right.
this is, you're saying, okay, how are we going to have real adoption in crypto? And you're saying, okay, I need to bring it to. But the problem a lot of times is that part of the cycle of the protocol that they're trying to build is dependent, for example, on a delivery guy or
Mm.
someone in real life, or
Yeah.
trying to do real estate in real life. In the end, there is someone who needs to kind of like register that transaction. And if the government, for example, in the use case of real estate is not involved, then you need to trust someone to do something,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So usually when we can see the whole process being solved on chain, this is usually kind of like a flag for us that we need to then start and understand with the team.
Mm.
It's okay to start like that in the first year or two, but then like, how are we going to solve that part in the future? That counterparty risk to make it, fully decentralized. And another example to that would be a group of entrepreneurs trying to build um, in gaming, by the way, sometimes you see
Hmm.
that a lot, right? Because you develop a game and there are advantages to develop a game on blockchain, like in terms of like the rewards and all of that. But what happens if the game goes offline? Like
Right.
the source code must be open source. Like
Hmm.
people, must contribute to the code. If the company basically got bankrupt, then what is the worth of the coins in that case? But
Mm.
if the code, for example, in that case would be open source, and the company will allow other people to contribute and work on that project, it adds to the decentralization of the project. So those are kind of like the things that we're looking at and examining project.
So what you're saying is both from a network, a technology, and also from an operational perspective, are elements of kind of where you're focusing on for projects to really showcase that decentralization aspect. And I think that's, quite important that many folks may not focus enough, attention on. I mean, you and I talked about this before. Like even if you look at the digital asset framework that comes out of the regulators, like even they are looking at things both from from a network perspective, from a technology contribution perspective, and then also from a token allocation, token distribution side as well. So I think as this whole industry continue to evolve, it's no longer kind of wild wild west. There's this group of people doing something all over on this side. Like this is becoming mainstream. We see it on the news every day, and this notion of how to build it properly, leveraging the true nature of blockchain and crypto technology needs to be taken into account. So I think that's super helpful advice for many builders that are out there. Let me ask you, Amos.
Maybe
So
I'll just add one thing about that. So
sure, yeah, yeah.
I think my idea when someone is coming, okay, I want to build something on blockchain, is like
Mm,
the first interaction to me is like it's very hard. Like, why? Right? Like
mm,
you could build something, like most of the things you could build without a blockchain.
yeah.
And the only thing that you can build um, um, without a blockchain are the truly decentralized loops that we're talking about, like the ones
Mm,
that all of the verification, all of the transaction, everything being done on chain, and you can verify that on chain without a third party.
right.
That's truly the
Yeah. No,
advantage. Yeah.
that totally. I love the point about not this notion of blockchain applications or blockchain technology is so unique that nothing else can replace it. I find it fascinating because I hear that a lot. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at a ledger type of technology, I mean, there are distributed databases for decades that can
Yeah.
do things in a very different way, very fast, very centralized. But so it's not really the core nature of what it is on the ledger aspect, but like you said, it's the verification and a lot of the capabilities that it brings, combining that also with the economic model that can be run on top of it. You can't do an economic model on the
Yeah.
database, quite frankly,
Turning
right?
people
So
into stakeholders.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
that's a very big part. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, we're in what, July 2022. We are in the middle of a bear market, a fairly significant one. You've been around quite long from a crypto kind of blockchain perspective. You've seen this played out what 2-3 times already. What are some of the things that you're focusing on now in terms of projects that you think might come out on the other side of this cycle?
Yeah. So first, I think looking at the bear market, this is a very soft bear market for a crypto,
Mm,
right? There is so
mm,
much money out there. Usually in bear market, like no one wants to even talk with you if you're doing crypto, like in previous bear market, right?
mm,
But
mm.
here, it's a global kind of like economic bear market,
Right,
right? And then not
right.
specifically to crypto. So crypto still lives, companies still raise money,
Mm-hmm.
and more investment and more money is basically entering crypto from other markets. So it's a very unique and different bear market. In terms of like what we were looking at and what we like to invest, I think we're looking for the missing pieces for basically the industry to become more decentralized.
Mm,
So, for example, most of the protocol, etc., still uses they are decentralized, right? But they're using Alchemy or Infura
right.
to run nodes, etc. So RPC services are going to be fully decentralized. This is just one example. Another example is basically what you guys are building. So maybe you will tell us a little bit about that. But basically, the 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 infrastructure that is still centralized, and I think in the next 2-3 years it's going to be fully decentralized.
So really finding the missing pieces, the gaps that may exist today, that will allow us to go to the next phase of what this Web 3.0, crypto 4.0, whatever whatever terms that we want to use. But when we come out on the other side, to have it in a much more mature and much more kind of broad adoption type of fashion.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I think, obviously we will probably have another episode to talk about the projects that I'm working on, which you guys are leading the previous round. But what we were really focusing on was also trying to find that missing piece, right? What are some of those missing pieces that make sense to spend time in, that can really help solve some real world problems? I come from the traditional technology industry. You came from the trading side as well. Like we've all seen how financial services work. We've all
Yeah.
seen how other industries work. Now's the time to actually bring the real world and the crypto world together. And if there are some missing pieces, both from a technology perspective or from an operational perspective,
Yeah.
that can be created to get us to that point, I think that's what builders like us are looking to do.
Yeah, so yeah, like looking at the interesting use cases that we're going to see. So definitely like those pieces of the infrastructure, we're going to have also like new infrastructure like cross-chain protocols like
Mm,
XLRs,
yeah,
Layer Zero, etc., which are going to bring new use cases to life. And then I think also custody is a
yeah,
very, very big thing that's going to be part of the narrative. And then, utility of NFTs
mm,
that are not just PFPs, right? And yeah, I'm very, very excited. I think this is a very exciting time for crypto, also being an investor as well as an entrepreneur. And if you're building one of those, I think you won't have any issues with the bear market.
well, I mean, I know your door is wide open. So if anyone's watching this and having a very interesting idea that you want someone to even just validate and think about together, I think this Amos and his team would certainly be very welcome to have that conversation. Just to maybe before we wrap up, what are you working on personally now, like in the space, right? I know you're obviously investing. Are you actually building something on your own? Are you looking at projects to directly get involved in beyond the investment aspect? Is it something that that you're thinking about? You talk about some of the node operations and so on.
Yeah, so we're very focused on node operation. We look at it as
Mm,
kind of like, I would say, the new mining infrastructure in a way. But it
mm,
also, more than that, it's our way to really support the teams that we're working with. So all of my time basically goes on how to support the portfolio companies. I sit also on different boards of
right.
companies first that are not announced yet, but also, for example, on the board of Horizon
Mm.
and some other networks. So it's kind of like spread out, but I would say really most of my time is focusing on investing and helping the portfolio on the technical side, and then on the bootstrapping side with the node operation.
Very cool. Amos, thank you so much for your time. I know you and I have been trying to schedule this for quite some time now. Even when we were both in Barcelona, we couldn't get this going. It was just very busy schedule. But I look forward to seeing you again in person. And perhaps we can do another session to talk about my project specifically
Yeah,
and some of the some of the ideas that you think projects like ours can bring to the market. So I look forward to that conversation as well.
I really can't wait for that conversation. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you again soon.
Bye bye.
Hey, bye.